All right, guys, I'm doing it. I'm doing a deep dive on marine fragrances. Yes, summer's almost over, but it is Labor Day weekend here, and most people go out to picnics and the beaches and things like that, doing barbecues and all that good stuff. So I felt like it was appropriate. And those of you that like wearing marine fragrances off season, which I think can be invigorating for some folks and refreshing and uplifting, I think we'll find this list to be a perfect list to come back to. You can bookmark it or save it in a playlist of your favorite videos, or actually just watch all the videos back to back, because I'll add this to the playlist of deep dive videos. But yes, I do have marine fragrances, and I mentioned that I'm going to do a marine video because I was doing some research on marine fragrances to put together this list, and I knew that Jacques Fath has Curacao Bay, created by Cécile Zarokian. But there was also another fragrance, Vers le Sud, or Vers le Sud. So that was actually a fragrance I was looking up, and I realized that was selling for $17 at a discounter. So I made a quick video to let you guys know that it is happening. If you're in the market, you can go ahead and grab a bottle, because there were several from the brand that were selling there. Of course, Curacao Bay was not selling there, but Vers le Sud was. And I had reviewed that fragrance probably back in 2017, many years ago. I enjoyed it. It's a fig and marine fragrance. And the thing is, after rediscovering that, because I had it and I actually just bought a bottle of it myself from the promotion, I realized that fig and marine notes work really well, because we'll have several examples of it here in this video. So if you like the idea of fig and marine notes, stay tuned to find out some fragrances that do feature this, because Vers le Sud does, and of course several others do as well. The problem is a lot of the fragrances that were there sold out, sadly, so that discount is, the discount is no longer, because the fragrances are no longer there because they've run out. But somebody mentioned, oh, I thought you didn't like marine notes. Well, okay. Yes, I started this hobby around 2011, 2012, hating marine notes. But as my nose gets used to it, I don't have as challenging of a time. I think my frustration and hatred towards marine fragrances were the overuse of cologne as a note, which creates that synthetic marine smell. But some of the fragrances that utilize salt is not necessarily marine leaning to me, but salt with something algae-like or seaweed-like in minute quantities, I think is a better experience to me than overdose with cologne. And I've selected fragrances here that I at least enjoy somewhat, if not a lot, because I am enjoying marine notes quite a bit now. But early on, there were some fragrances that I put my nose on, so nauseating, like really, really nauseating, and I couldn't stand it. So I've adjusted to marine notes. I enjoy them. And there's fragrances here that I really enjoy, and there's fragrances here that I somewhat enjoy, but somewhat still challenging, and I'll let you know those fragrances. But I've become accustomed to marine notes. It's been a bit more challenging than something like disliking or hating Baccarat Rouge 540, then really enjoying it later. And fragrances like Vanilla Powder from Matière Première, even Crystal Saffron, hating those and then liking them later. There's a video on the channel of fragrances I hated, and it's to enjoy it now. You can go catch that video. But I am enjoying marine notes, and as I said, it's the last weekend pretty much of summer. Summer ends around the 22nd. That's the last day of summer, somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly what this last day of summer is for this year, but we have some time. And again, this video can be something you could use later to come back to, or, it's going to be added to a playlist. You can just click the playlist and watch all the deep dive videos back to back. So one last thing I want to mention is we still have some Scent Club kits that are in the store. If you haven't gotten your Scent Club kit yet, please do. Also, if you are on the mailing list, you would have been notified for a well, I should say you'll get an email for something that's coming very soon. We are dropping an amazing, amazing mystery box today. And it has so many fragrances in it that I think once people find out how many samples are in it, you're going to want to take advantage of the mystery box. So you'll get the email if you've signed up for the newsletters. And stay tuned for those. If it hasn't gone out yet, you'll get them very soon. And yeah, there is a new mystery box. And that is the latest mystery box. It's our second official mystery box. We actually did a smaller mystery box with less quantity earlier in the year for one retailer. But now we've got an actual official second mystery box. And you're going to want to check it out once you get that email if it hasn't come already. All right, let's get started with the list. We're going to the house of ACQUA del ELBA. And we've got 2 fragrances from this house back to back. And if you've ever visited Italy, you probably have seen a store at some of the bigger cities have stores. Like Florence, I think there's 2 stores there. But a lot of hotels use their products, like their room deodorizers, you know, those sticks, diffusers, is that what they're called? Yeah, they use those. So you'll see them, but their logo is right here. And this is CLASSICA. This is the men's CLASSICA. CLASSICA UOMO in its EDP concentration. So we've got a fragrance from the house of ACQUA del ELBA with marine notes. And it's a fresh sea breeze like marine notes, but also behind the marine touches, there are some minty camphor like herbal touches, which to me provides this very almost like zesty, but more like herbal zest rather than like a ginger spice or, you know, grapefruit peel and things like that. So it's very, very fresh. It's marine, but this is so tolerable, so awesome smelling, super clean and fresh, and it doesn't smell like fish. Yes, some marine fragrances can smell like fish, and if I see any here, or if I'm recommending any, I'll let you know. For me, it's a bit too much here. It's for me, this is, even though it's featuring marine notes, it's more of a sea breeze experience rather than swimming in the sea with the fishes kind of a thing. So it's a really, really great, invigorating, fresh marine fragrance. It's targeted to men, but I think it's quite unisex. A woman can totally pull this off. So that's called ACQUA del ELBA CLASSICA. I believe they have the same fragrance in, I think it's it's the same name, but it's a different smelling fragrance for the ladies. But I think a woman can totally pull that off. But moving on to the same house, the second fragrance, ACQUA del ELBA ESSENZAMARE, this one right here. So ESSENZAMARE, and this is sort of like Megamare. Well, there's enough of the amber woods experience that Megamare has that's here as well. And once again here, it's a light sea breeze like effect happening with the marine notes, but obviously it's a very powerful and intense fragrance. It will hint at Megamare, but I don't think this is identical. I think what will hint at Megamare is the amber woods intensity that's in Megamare. But for me, Megamare is a bit challenging still. This is not challenging at all. There's a cleanness about it, but it's super potent with that amber woods or ambroxan like woody amber effect that they have in the dry down here. Super intense fragrance. Again, if you like amber woods, this is the fragrance for you. I think the sea breeze effect is kind of not super potent like Megamare is, so it's not acting super marine, but there are marine elements in there, along with spices, maybe some light citruses, of course, woods, and throw in some aromatics as well. But it is also quite musky. So that is ESSENZAMARE. This is ACQUA del ELBA. Then we've got a fragrance from the house of ADAMO. It's south of 5th. So again, this is a really tolerable take on marine notes. Are you guys familiar with this house? This one has lots of patchouli-like woodiness in the base because it's acting pretty potent. But once again, it's got a perfect kind of sea breeze happening here with like menthol-y kind of aromatics thrown in, herbal touches, and of course sea freshness, but also citrusy freshness up top. But what's really great about it is whatever's in the base, something woody and also patchouli-like, maybe a bit mossy, is smelling really, really awesome here to create a very clean but very woody experience with not only the sea notes or the marine notes in here, which is acting very sea breezy, along with the earthy woody notes in the base. Really awesome fragrance. I'd forgotten about this one. It's been a while since I've pulled it. This is South of 5th from ADAMO. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. Then we have a fragrance from the house of ANFAS. This is SAMAHA. That's it right there. SAMAHA is a floral with, like, it's a floral fragrance with a lot of sea marine notes thrown in. It acts very, very fresh. And the white floral notes are prominent. So if you like the idea of marine, but you want it with a floral experience, this is one for you to try. And once again, it's not overwhelming with the marine notes. It's not overwhelming with the marine touches. It's there. You'll notice it. It's almost like smelling the flowers. Some kind of a flower, maybe a plant, big plant with a lot of flowers blooming on top. And you're getting the sea breeze and also getting the great whiffs of the white flowers that are in some kind of a plant that's kind of like overgrown, and there's a lot of flowers on it, and it's projecting the smell off of the plant or the bush of flowers, or even a tree, because this could act like a tree as well. I believe this is jasmine here. It's not acting super jasmine-like, but I think it's just a nice bouquet of white flowers with some light jasmine thrown in as well. But the sea breeze touches are perfect. It's not super strong. And it is breezy as well. Even though I feel like the flowers have kind of baked under the sun, warmed up. That's why they're projecting their fragrance off of the plant. But you've got a breeziness with the sea, like the marine notes that are creating somewhat of a sea breeze effect. So that is SAMAHA from the house of ANFAS. Are you guys familiar with that? I have a full video of that shot several years ago, and we actually featured that in a mystery box recently as well. And next, going to the house of ARQUISTE. This is a grove by the sea. So this is super green. I think there's figs and there's even olives. So it's painting a nice picture of this grove by the sea on the Mediterranean, because the olives, the figs are really, the kind of prominent trees that grow in the Mediterranean or on the Mediterranean. So I think it's a really nice take on something sea breezy and also very green and bitter as well, because there's bitterness with those trees. Now this one to me acts a bit more marine than what we've smelled so far, but I think the bitterness of the green notes, the olives and the figs, the fig leaves. This is not very fruity. It's the leaves for me. It's acting. It's covering up the overly intense experience of the sea marine touches in the fragrance. So it's a great, like they've painted a great picture, and I can only envision these beautiful trees against the coast there, a grove by the sea, and of course, the trees. I'm a big fan of trees. I love them, and I like some of the fragrance that trees have. And even though you don't think you're going to smell something, you can really smell the trees if you get really close to them. And they've captured it perfectly there with that fragrance. So next we're going to the house of Art de Parfum. This is Seafoam. So I think, when did I start actually starting to appreciate marine fragrances? So I think one of the fragrances happened to be that it's a fragrance that kind of started to get me to enjoy the marine notes. Again, it was challenging, and even though the light ones were challenging before, but I can totally tolerate it. Here with Seafoam, it's definitely very marine. It's actually a little bit more marine than some of the earlier ones we discussed. But it's very fresh, and there's also like herbal touches, more like herbs that are grown on the sea, so you actually capture the smell of the sea with the herbs, and you've got that here. So there's a bit of greenness in here as well, plus of course the sea touches. So it is a bit strong. And also, I forgot to mention, some of these fragrances that I'm smelling on strips, on skin, the marine touches even come out further. And this is why I started having challenges early on. Like, I would smell something, I would like it in the store, I guess, but I'd come home and test it out on skin. I'd be like, whoa, that smells so sulfuric and so not enjoyable. Like, one of the fragrances I despised, which is discontinued now, it's called Coney Island. One of the worst fragrances ever made, ever. Nasty, vile. It was like a gourmand with an overly fishy, sulfuric presence. It was nauseating for sure. None of these are like that, but I think a Grove by the Sea and Seafoam are definitely a bit stronger with the marine touches compared to the previous ones. So that's Art de Parfum Seafoam. Let me know if you guys are familiar with this house. You know, I just paused my video to go double check. I wasn't able to, I don't think I have any fragrances from Acqua di Parma that feature marine notes. At least I don't have any. But I thought Mirto de Panarea was a bit marine, but I double checked, it's not. And then I wanted to make sure I don't skip it, because we're going to be moving on from the A collection of fragrances. But next fragrance is Atelier d'Azur Nuda Verita. So this one doesn't have cologne in it, but it has something similar to cologne that provides that marine touch in fragrances. But what I like about this one, and I don't know if it's coming from an ingredient that they've added here, but it is a jasmine focused fragrance. That's another thing. I feel like jasmine and marine notes are pretty popular. There's several that we just had. The SAMAHA, we've got this, and we've got something else I remember that's coming up. But it's there's a creamy layer here that almost makes the fragrance a bit beachy, like you're putting on some kind of a sunscreen or suntan lotion. But once again, even though it has that note that's similar to cologne, it's very tolerable to wear. It's very fresh, and there's that creamy layer that I like, and it's got a lot of jasmine thrown in as well. I think it's definitely one of their more popular from the house. I think the reason that, since it's so popular, they have a flanker of this. It's an extrait version of this. But I do like the freshness, because it is a fresh fragrance, and I like the fact that this is eau de parfum, not super thick and dense like an extrait de parfum. And it's definitely one of the fragrances that got me to enjoy marine notes, because this launched around 2018, I think. So yeah, I do enjoy this one a lot. So it's Nuda Verita from the house of Atelier d'Azur. And then we've got a fragrance from the house of Atelier Oblique. It's Marble Sea. So we've got the name sea in the name of the fragrance. I featured it because of that, but I don't think there's actual marine notes here. It's more ozonic notes. So it's super crisp, because I think they're using violet leaves to create the ozonic notes. And it's super like green as well. But there's also like herbs and spices and citruses. So it's very clean. It's crisp. It's fresh. And the idea is the sea. Marble Sea is the name. But they're not using marine notes, which is cool. So if you are like me, I mean, maybe you're just starting out and you are intrigued by marine notes, but you've tried some and you are turned off because they can be nauseating. Well, they were nauseating to me. They were very sulfuric, almost like rotten eggs. This is not that at all, but the idea is there. It's called Marble Sea, and they're trying to capture they're trying to set a scene with the sea idea, but not using marine notes to create that. So it doesn't have any touch of marine notes whatsoever, but it is super clean. It's also super cold or cool. Really wonderful. I don't know what's going on with the brand. I hope they launch some new fragrances soon, but this is Marble Sea from the house of Atelier Oblique. Here's a fragrance from the house of BERDOUES. It's AZUR Riviera. Are you guys familiar with this house? The fragrances of this house are not super expensive, although for a long time they were $88 for 100 ml. But I think with price increases happening, these might have gone up. And I don't know who's carrying this line anymore either. But again, it's super fresh, it's super clean, it's marine smelling but tolerable. It's got a little bit of a sunscreeny kind of undertone there, like a creaminess. So there's some warmth under there, but it's all very, very fresh, very, very sea breezy, and the idea of the Riviera is the theme of the fragrance. And I think there was a time like in the late 2010s, everybody was making Riviera fragrances. So that idea is perfectly captured. But once again, it's not super fishy, which is great. It's not sulfuric. It's mixed in with nice freshness of the citruses. So there is a bit of a cooling effect. I feel like there's some light aromatics in there. So I'm picking up some herbal touches. Maybe something like vetiver as well. Not the herbs, because it's acting a bit grassy to give you a little bit of a depth in the fragrance as well. I think it's a simplistic fragrance. It's not super complex, so it can be very easily worn. You can take it to the beach and wear it at the beach, or wear it, during the day at work or something, because I think it's a crowd pleasing kind of fragrance. People will not be turned off because it's very, very fresh. And so if you like those kind of fragrances, definitely check out AZUR Riviera. And you got that nice blue effect happening on the back. So we've got 3 fragrances back to back from the house of Bon Parfumeur. They have 3 marine-focused fragrances. And recently I featured this one in the grapefruit video. So it's Pamplemousse. So it's Embrun's Cedra Pamplemousse. So Embrun's was the sea breeze or something in that vein. It's a French term. Has to do with the sea. It could either be sea breeze or sea mist. But it's woody, it's marine lightly, and also, pamplemousse is grapefruit. So it's a bit bitter, zing, citrus kind of an effect. I feel like right now what's really dominating are the woods. The woods in the base seems like there's quite a bit of, so it's quite woody. But I think the sea mist or sea breeze or sea whatever Embrun's means is mixing nicely with the zinginess of the pamplemousse or the grapefruit. I have to be honest, Bon Parfumeur doesn't seem like a very hyped brand, but they do have some really great fragrances, and they have a ton of offerings, so they're not overly expensive. I think definitely you should try this line if you like to have a variety to pick from. But next, same house, 802. So this one is Pivoine, which is peony, lotus flower, bamboo. So this is acting marine with not marine notes, but this is part of the marine collection, the blue, obviously. This is also very floral. Got a lot of flowers here. It's a bit green from the bamboo. And bamboo always acts kind of succulent to me. There's a chewiness about it. But lots of flowers. And I think the lotus flower is providing the watery effect. They might have thrown in some marine notes in here to give it a bit of a sea breezy effect, a bit of a marine edge. It's not super marine. I think the pivoine or the peony and the lotus are pretty prominent along with the bamboo. And this combined together has got a very soft, cushiony, as I said, succulent kind of effect happening there with the fragrance. This is pretty pleasant. In fact, I feel like this is a bit less marine than the first one, Parfumeur. Then we've got 803, and this was also recently featured, and this was in the ginger video. So Embrins once again. So is it Sea Mist, Sea Breeze? Gingembre is ginger and patchouli. This is my favorite of the three because I like the combination of the notes. And here it's working really wonderfully. I love the patchouli in this. I love that earthiness. I never thought that patchouli and marine notes would work, or whatever the note they have, the Embrins here. It really, really works. You do experience both, but what the patchouli does, which is so potent, it kind of tones it down, crosses it out. You'll get light traces of that marine Embrins note that they have in here, but it's not so overpowering. But also along the way, we've got that ginger, which is giving it a zing. It's a super fresh zing to it. Really, really great. That's my favorite of the three, 803. Let me know if you guys have tried that. I mentioned the fact that there's a lot of fig fragrances with marine notes. So this is the first one, I believe. Well, we had a Grove by the Sea, which is fig and marine. This is the second one. I don't think we had any others so far. This is Fig Man from the House of Carner, Barcelona. I think that's how it should be. Fig Man. I actually have a full review of this on the channel. Let me know if you're a fan of Carner Barcelona. I've been featuring them quite a bit in my deep dive videos. I mean, I like this because I love figs. And again, figs and marine notes really work well, especially if the marine notes aren't super edited, not like overwhelming. This is not a fruity fig. It's more of the green. And also I feel like we've got the fig milk in this and also the woods. So it's super woody and also milky, creamy, and of course green with the marine edge thrown in. It's really, really nice. I've forgotten about this, but I think they've done a great job with this one. If you like I almost feel like there's sandalwood because the wood's effect is more on the creamy side, but it could be cedar. I don't know. I'm looking at the cap and I'm smelling what I'm seeing from the cap because it's quite woody and smooth. So there's a smoothness about it. But really nicely done, Fig Man. Let me know if you're familiar with that. I think there's also a bit of saltiness in this, is what I'm smelling a little bit. Quite nice. I guess I shouldn't really say I don't really like marine notes. I like a certain kind of marine notes, I should say. Yeah, I mean, if it's too fishy, no thank you. If it's not fishy at all, yes. But light traces of it is fine. Just like my animalics, I like animalics. I think I can tolerate animalics more than some people can. But I don't want overdosed animalics. I want a nice presence of it, and that's pretty much it. I don't want to be swimming in animalic notes, which is not very pleasant to wear. So the next we're going to the house of Cartusia. This is Amare. So beautiful, this bottle. I actually have a video shot in their store with one of the associates. Unfortunately, she wasn't that good in English, so it's a bit difficult to understand, but I recommend you guys go watch that if you are curious to learn more about Cartusia. I was actually in Italy, in Naples, and then I took a ferry to Naples. I'm sorry, to Capri. That's what I said. Did I say? Yeah. The brand is based off the island of Capri. So I was in Naples and I took a ferry boat to Capri. We also went inside the blue, what is it called? drawing a blank with the name, but this grotto, I think it's called the Blue Grotto. So you have to get into this boat and you have to put your head down and you go under, and it's this beautiful cave on the water and it's all blue inside. So it did that. And of course I shot a video with one of the folks of Cartusia. It's a great classic house based off of Capri, and great experience. So if you're ever in the island of Capri, go. But this to me, once again, I think it's a bit more saltier than Marine. I think it's very fresh and invigorating, and it's also very, very clean. It's not super fishy. But behind it all, you get the idea of the marine notes. And the picture doesn't really make sense because it's all the fish. As you can see, it's underground. I mean, to me, it doesn't smell like that. But it is a gorgeous bottle, nonetheless. I think the bottle is great. For me, it's nicely edited, not overdosed with too much marine notes. Very tolerable to wear. It's actually really, really great work. I think Luca Maffei did that one. And it smells super fine. I think under there also, it's got a slight creaminess as well, which gives me a little bit of a beachy vibe. There might be some flowers in there. Creamy floral notes or something creamy, maybe some sandalwood or something. But let me know if you're a fan of Amare. Really wonderful fragrance, I think. Another fragrance that actually was a fragrance that got me to enjoy the marine notes even further. So we're going to the house of Clive Christian next. It's Crab Apple Blossom. One of my favorite times of the year is spring, when all the fruit trees are blossoming, or whatever trees that are blossoming. And I absolutely love blossoms on trees. I think it's visually beautiful to look at. And also, sometimes they're very fragrant. Some apple trees that I've hung around do have some fragrance, but I don't think they're as strong as some other blossoming trees. Here, I think you got a little bit of the floral touches in here. But once again, I feel like we're at the coast. It might be kind of a similar idea to a grove by the sea. But it's this beautiful tree that's just blossomed that has the idea of the flowers. There's a lot of freshness. There might be some citruses. And of course, a sea breeze running throughout it to give you the idea of this beautiful tree. Perhaps it's a big tree with a lot of blossoms on it. And you get the freshness of the flowers, the gorgeousness, and then of course you get the sea breeze as well. Again, it's not super dosed with the sea breeze or marine notes that are in here, but it's noticeable. It's really noticeable, but it's totally tolerable. But again, sometimes if you're new at marine notes, if you're like me and you're new, you might be sensitive to marine notes a lot more than I am. I've gotten used to it and I can tolerate it and enjoy it right now. But early on, as I said, it was really challenging for me. Super, super challenging. I like a lot of it was nauseating. In fact, we've got a fragrance here from the house of Ramon Monegal. And he does a lot of marine fragrances. In fact, the next one is for another brand that he's done the fragrance for. I'll get to it in a little bit. But Ramon Monegal had a fragrance called Mon Patchouli. And this was like really early on in my journey. They had brought Ramon Monegal to Neiman Marcus probably like 13 years ago, 14 years ago. And I, being a lover of patchouli, I got so excited when the associate gave me a sample of Mon Patchouli. But what do you know? I put it on and I couldn't wait to wash that thing off. It was so overdosed with something sulfuric marine. I don't know what the heck it was. It could have been a chemistry thing as well, but it reminded me of the effect I got with wearing Coney Island, that kind of fishy sulfuric smell. I mean, those are the kind of fragrances that I've washed off my skin as soon as possible. Thankfully, Coney Island is discontinued. I'm not sure about Mon Patchouli, and I don't know if it's the formula has changed or anything, or if my you know, if I can tolerate it now. I haven't gone close to that fragrance for a long time, but early on, I couldn't wait to wash it off. It was that nauseating to me. Let me know if you guys have experienced something like that with marine notes or something sulfuric. Do add a comment below, but let's move on to Comtesse de Parfums. This is Sydney, created by Ramon Monegal. Are you guys familiar with this house? I actually saw this brand for the first time at Harrods. They had just put out the brand out. And this is sort of like the idea of Frederic Malle, and they're highlighting perfumers along with the name of the brand, obviously. And they've got the name of Ramon Monegal on here, as you can see. Looking down at the table, by the way, there's a lot of blue here. A lot of blue. This is, once again, a very fresh fragrance. I think the idea of Sydney is perfect. I've never been to Sydney. I kind of want to go there. I wasn't attracted a long time ago, but I'm kind of attracted to going there now. And I could see this. I don't know what kind of swimming culture there is in Sydney. I'm assuming their waters are warm, whereas in California, especially Northern California, I don't think I could swim in the waters of the Pacific here. But if I was to go to the sea, the beach, I would smell this for sure. It's just, he's done a great job. And again, I don't know what it was in Mon Patchouli, but thankfully he didn't add whatever was in that into this. It smells super awesome. Super fresh, super breezy, marine but light, also freshness with citruses. And then of course, I feel like there's grassy notes or herbal notes in there and light woods under there as well. Great fragrance. Let me know if you're familiar with Comtesse de Parfums. This is Sydney, created by Ramon Monegal. The next fragrance is from the house of Costume National, 2 bottles that are kind of similar in color. So, are you guys familiar with Costume National? I love this brand, and it's the same folks that own Juicebox, by the way. But Costume National is a fashion house from Italy. See-Through is the latest fragrance from the house. And once again, I think it's created by Celine Burrell, I think. In fact, she's got 2 fragrances on this list. I'll get to the other one by her is Squid. This color of Squid, by the way, used to be blue. It's gone brown. We'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, once again, it's a very, very fresh fragrance. Really lovely. Light marine. A lot of aromatics, I think. Some citruses. There's a light sweetness about it. But you can notice the herbal qualities, aromatics, and of course, the marine sea breeze. It's called See-Through. Really great name, I think. It's not S-E-E, but it's S-E-A. Let me know if you've gotten your nose on that. Definitely really nicely done. I think I'm actually enjoying the fragrances of Celine Burrell, by the way. She's been doing fragrances for Aesop. I think a lot of the fragrances were created by Barnaby Fillion. And she had Tacit. Now I think she's got the 3rd one that's just launching, if it hasn't launched already. Okay, next up, going to the house of Dior. It's Eden Rock. In my 250 ml bottle, remember these are no longer 250 ml bottles. They are 200 mls, sadly. Why did Dior do that? Why? Dior, why did you do that? They're not going to listen to me. But this one actually, I wasn't enjoying it as much when it first launched. I guess I kind of got used to it, and I'm enjoying it a little bit more. This is more minerally marine and salty. But it's not a wow for me. But I think a lot of people like this one. I don't know what it is about this one that people resonate with. Definitely created by the Francois Dumarche before he left Dior. Boy, I miss the fragrances of Francois Dumarche. He was doing some great work, by the way. I don't know what has happened with... I don't know if it was with Dior. I don't know if Francois Dumarche was forced out. And Francis Kurkdjian was brought in to just take, you know, whatever the brand owners or executives tell him, he's just going to take orders, kind of a thing. Do this, do that. Because maybe Francois was saying, no, I'm not going to do that. And maybe he was forced out. I don't know what happened, but I think, I mean, I love Francis Kurkdjian's fragrances. Don't get me wrong. I actually like his brand. But something's wrong there. Something is not clicking. But I think Eden Rock, it was not a fragrance for me. I didn't like it as much, and I still do not love it, but I appreciate it more now. And I think it's a nicely executed fragrance. I think people seem to like this one. Anyway, let me know if you're a fan of Eden Rock. I think it's named after a luxury hotel resort in the south of France. Next, going to the house of Estoras. This is Port of Alexandria. Yeah, hardly could see that. Are you guys familiar with this house? Let me know. It's a house from Austria. That doesn't sound good, does it? I'm going to let that go for a while. What happened was the cap had something under there and it just fell out. So it's a woody aromatic marine fragrance. This one actually is a little bit stronger with the marine touches. It's called Port of Alexandria. I think it's inspired by the Port of Alexandria in Egypt. And I've never been there, so I don't know anything about it, but I'm assuming there's a lot of sea smells. I mean, any ports or any coastal cities, they do get, I mean, we have it here in San Francisco as well on the coast. There's a fishiness about the air when you get really close to that port area. So if you like that, it's quite aromatic and spicy and also very woody, but super dosed with much more marine notes than anything else we've sampled so far. Let's see which one was the most marine. I think A Grove by the Sea was quite marine. Seafoam was quite marine, I think, and then now Port of Alexandria. This one on skin will probably challenge me. I can smell it already, like it's getting pretty strong. So whatever they've used to create the marine smell does give me a bit of a sulfuric vibe. So that is Port of Alexandria from the house of Estoras. All right, first page is done. Second page, we've got 3 pages, and 3 pages all the way down. All right, the next fragrance, we're going to the house of... Wait a minute. No, that's the 3rd page. Okay. The next fragrance is going to the house of Francesca Bianchi. This is the MARINER'S Rhyme. What do you guys think about this one? Can Francesca Bianchi do marine fragrances? I don't think this is a true marine. Also, her DNA is all over this. It's quite powdery, woody. I mean, she uses a lot of orris or iris. I mean, this is like her DNA. And a lot of times her fragrances go leathery, maybe ambery, woody as well. But there's a lot of orris. But once that first blast went away, even though I don't see the actual marine notes or something marine listed as a note, I do get it here quite a bit. That's why this is a bit of a turnoff for me. I mean, I really like the way the fragrance starts. And there was this airy... I mean, I love her iris. Sometimes her fragrances can be challenging as well. But the iris in this, when it first sprayed, was so ethereal, like flowy, like the iris was flowing in the air and you're getting whiffs of it. And that kind of disappeared. And now something very marine is taking over and I could totally smell it. So this one actually, just like Port of Alexandria, is quite strong with the marine notes. If that was toned down a little bit, I think I could tolerate this one more. But it's definitely very sulfuric. But that blast, that first blast was so good. The Airy Iris was amazing, amazing. Okay, next, going to the house of Frederic Malle, one of my favorite marine fragrances, and I have to give this fragrance credit for my enjoyment of marine fragrances. This is Le Méditerranée, one of the best marine fragrances, hands down. It's amazing. Really, really awesome. It smells great. The lily is super spicy, gives me a little bit of a clove/carnation spiciness. The lily reminds me a little bit of the stargazer lilies. It's funny, I was at the grocery store the other day, right behind a man who was holding a bunch of stargazer lilies. And every time he'd move up, I could smell the stargazer lilies. And it would remind me of this fragrance, but except the marine touches, of course, which this fragrance has. This is amazing. It's so, so good. I think thanks to this and the fact that they've mixed it with the spiciness of the lily, because it has a spiciness, it's almost like clove spice, some kind of a spice like that. Not nutmeg, but clove spiciness. I think that kind of tones down the overly marine touches of the marine notes that they have in here. But to me, it smells amazing. So, so good. And I've always mentioned this in my videos. This reminds me of Easter lilies. This really reminds me of Easter. I've used quite a bit of this and I love it. I need to get another bottle. As you can see, it's gone pretty down. And I've had my bottle for a while. So that is Le Méditerranée, the Mediterranean lily from the house of Frederic Malle. Absolutely one of the best from that house. Then we're going to the house of Giardini di Toscana. It's Blue Mare. Blue Mare is also a little overdosed with a lot of marine notes. So this one, I would say, I know there's people that are not sensitive to the overdose of marine notes or cologne and things like that. And some are. I am. If you are like me, then use caution with this. Use caution with the MARINER'S rhyme. Use caution with the Estoras. This gives me a little bit of a Mega Mare vibe as well. There's a lot of amber woods in the base. But it's coming. That sulfuric marine note is developing. And on skin, to me, I've tested this out a couple times. It's a bit overwhelming. But there's enough. I've got janitorial outside. I've got enough amber woods here to do tone down that marine notes, but they've put so much marine notes in this that I'm starting to think, okay, I gotta put this strip down. I enjoy the house for other fragrances like Bora Bora or Bianco Latte and a few others, but that fragrance is a bit overwhelming with the marine notes. But let's move on to the house of I Profumi di Firenze. This is Brezza di Mare. I will be in Florence. This brand is based out of Florence. And they have an amazing store, like an apothecary/pharmacy in that famous square in Florence where they have the statue of David and all the other statues. So if you're ever there, go visit this. Make sure to go to... there's a few other pharmacies that produce their own perfumes. Of course, Santa Maria Novella is one that you should go to. This one, actually, the prices are so nice here. If you ever are in this area, definitely go to this. There's also Cingale. I think that's another store. Okay, I had to pause the video there because there were some interruptions happening. But now I'm back. So Brezza di Mare is the sea breeze, basically. I think it's what it's translated to. To me, once again, it's a very tolerable, kind of creamy, sea breezy kind of an effect happening here. It's super, super fresh. A little aromatic. There might be some light citruses and some light woods in there, but for me, they're focusing on the sea breeze. And there is a light creaminess under there as well. So giving you a little bit of sunscreen, suntan lotion-y effect. But this house has some great offerings. I believe they used to sell this at Barney's. Barney's went out of business, of course, completely. I think some of their fragrances are at Neiman Marcus. And that's pretty much all I know of where the fragrances are. So if, again, if you're traveling to Italy, if you are in Florence, that's definitely a stop you should make. There's also the Farmaceutia, I think, Annunziata. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that house. All these old pharmacies in Florence that have their own fragrances. There's also, what's the brand? There's another brand, AQUA is another brand that if you're in Florence, you should visit. And I have a whole video of AQUA on the channel shot in their perfumery. So if you want to check that video out, you should. Okay, let's move on to the house of imaginary authors. It's Falling into the Sea. So this one, it says, it's not necessarily like extremely marine. This one has the note of warm sand, and it's a very fruity fragrance. I'm featuring it here because it's got the word sea in the name. And it's lots of fruits. It is acting a bit beachy, and it's fresh. Maybe there might be like slight light layers of something marine in there, but I don't think it's intentional. It might be just, the notes working together to create something like that. But you've got a lot of the fruits. There's lychee fruit in here. The notes breakdown is right there. If you like the idea of a beachy fragrance, of course, that has the sand note, you should try this one. The fruitiness is light. It's not super fruity. It is sweet, though. So yeah, it's a fun fragrance. Next, going to the house of Jacquat, we've got Curacao Bay. And if you caught that video where I was mentioning the fragrance is, for sale, the Vers Sud. So the marine notes that are in both of these fragrances do remind me of one another, honestly. But Curacao Bay, I believe, is the one that really was the one that won out. This is one that I had a challenging time with at first, quite a bit. I've grown to love it. This also smells a little bit like chlorine pool, in addition to a creaminess of like a sunscreen, and of course the marineness of the sea. So there is something maybe minerally or something like chlorine is in here. Like it reminds me a little bit of pool water. But I like the way it smells. Really quite nice. But I was a bit challenged with it at first. It's grown on me, and I'm not as sensitive to its sulfuric touches that I remember smelling when I first smelled that fragrance. When Jacquat came back on the scene, they came back as a niche fragrance house rather than a fashion house. They used to be, clothing. They used to make clothes, and they've had fragrances. And they relaunched around 2015, and they relaunched with 4 fragrances. There was Green Water, which was redone by Cécile Zarokian, reformulated by Cécile Zarokian. And then, of course, Curacao Bay, Vers Sud, and also Belle Ambre. Those 4 in the large 200 ml bottles were selling at Barney's. And then I think one thing led to another. The brand launched a lot of other fragrances. And the latest fragrance, I believe, is Musk Couture, which I have a video with the perfumer of that fragrance on the channel. It's Jean-Christophe Herol, who did Aventus. So he's been doing their fragrances now. He's got Vetiver Gris, Jasmine de Toscane, there's Encens Copal, and then the latest is Musk Couture, which I really liked. It's a fruity musk, by the way. But Curacao Bay is quite lovely. If you haven't tried it, please do. And again, let me know if you get the pool water, like chlorine, something like that in there. But the next one, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Vers Sud. You might still be able to find this, but not at the discounter I was talking about. Macy's also had a lot of their fragrances discounted, and a lot of you were looking for Curacao Bay. It was there. It was discounted, but not as discounted as what I saw on FragranceNet. There was also Le Loden, which is that vetiver fragrance. And everything else was there. I believe Green Water was there as well. The only thing that I didn't see on Macy's was the latest before the new one that's coming out soon called Encens Copal. Even the Vetiver Gris was there, and the Jasmine de Toscane was there, but not Encens Copal or the new one, the Musk Couture. But Vers Sud is another great the marine notes in VERITAS South does remind me of the marine notes in the Curacao Bay. But what's different about this one is quite figgy. Like the fig leaves is really, really prominent. So there's a greenness about it. There's also a little lavender, so aromatic and green and bitter against the sea breeze. I like the combination. In fact, I actually like this more than Curacao Bay, but for some reason, I think this, people didn't get the figs and the marine notes together and they prefer the other. I don't know why, but this is discontinued. Because in that video, I mentioned it's no longer on the Jacques Fath website. But if you can get it, get it. VERITAS South is awesome. Sad it's discontinued, though. Next, going to the house of James Healy, or Healy. It's Note de Yuzu. I actually featured this in our yuzu, or in my yuzu video recently. Yuzu, grapefruit, pomelo. It's a salty marine take on yuzu, basically. And from what I've been, when I do some research out there, and then I noticed that there's a lot of mention that grapefruit does have a saltiness about it. And so it works great with salty notes. Also, grapefruit works great with, vetiver, you know? So they bring out the saltiness because, you know, sell the vetiver. There's the Aniquitol OG vetiver. There's the Lalique Encre Noir Sport, which is kind of salty and grapefruity. But this is basically a marine take on yuzu, but lightly salty and lightly marine. It's a very tart and zingy, astringent kind of grapefruit. I wouldn't say too astringent, but there is some, tartness under there. But super fresh. So that's Note de Yuzu from Healy. And I guess it was a collab with Maison Kitsune. I hope this is still selling. Somebody mentioned recently, I was mentioning where to get the fragrances of Healy. And I guess they do ship directly from their website. But next, moving on to the house of Jo Malone. It's Wood, Sage, and Sea Salt. A great crowd pleaser, I think. Crowd-pleasing fragrance. Really wonderful. It's simplistic. It's clean. It's salty marine. It's musky and aromatic. So we've got ambrette. We've got the sage. Sea salt. It smells so good, but so super light. They need, I don't know if they can, make it a higher concentration. Like move this into the dark bottle. Those are supposed to be higher concentrated than the clear bottles, but I don't know. I think the smell will change if they, anything is possible though. But I really love it. It just doesn't last as long. It's super clean and fresh. It's for those folks that really want something super potent. What I like about this is quite musky as well because of the ambrette note. It's a great note in fragrances. It's a all natural ingredient. These seeds from some kind of a poppy flower, I believe, and it creates a muskiness. It's vegetal. It's powdery, a bit fruity and a bit boozy as well. Lighter on the booze and the fruits. There's a pear-like fruitiness with ambrette. And, you get some of those qualities here. But super great. I just wish it was stronger. It's a great smelling fragrance. It's kind of not overly complex either. It's not like super exciting, but as a smell, it smells really, really wonderful, I think. Wood, Sage, and Sea Salt from the house of Jo Malone. Next, going to the house of Juliette Hazegun. It's Vanilla Vibes. This is probably, so far, the most vanillic marine fragrance I have spoken about. I think this is one of the best from Juliette Hazegun. Really nicely done, I think. It's a salty marine take on vanilla, which is super beachy, super creamy, and of course, sunscreeny. And if you don't like vanilla, if you don't like gourmand, the saltiness really tones down the sweetness. That's why when you're baking, you add a little salt to your batter. But a little salt goes a long way. I wouldn't call this savory because there are fragrances that are not sweet at all and they have a saltiness, kind of like umami. But this is a nice combo of sweet and savory together. It's actually really, really wonderful. One of the best from Juliette Hazegun for sure. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. I remember when that first came out in 2019. Instantly fell in love with it. I thought to myself, am I going to like this? It does have a bit of a marine edge. It does. But again, I've opened up to marine notes, and I really enjoy that for a sweet, vanillic, salty marine fragrance. Okay, next, going to the house of Kirin NY. It's Pure NY. I'm sorry, Kirin NYC, Pure NY, which is right there. You guys familiar with Kirin NYC? Let me know. Add a comment below. This seems like another brand, fragrance house that's kind of New York set. I won't mention that other brand. Some of you know me from a long time ago probably know who. I've already mentioned one of their fragrances that I despise. But this is, again, it's a salty, marine, aromatic, and spicy. There's a lot of spice there, but in the green aromatic variety of spice. Because there's something camphor, minty in here against the sea breezy touches. But there's also citruses, I believe. I think I get a little bit of a lemony citrus up top. But super fresh. And behind all of that, or under all of that, there's woods. Yeah. It's a marine fragrance, but tolerable, wearable, not super strong, some of the other ones I've mentioned. So far, the ones that I really have a challenging time with, Mariner's Rhyme, Blue Mare, Port of Alexandria, those are pretty challenging to me. Their sulfuric qualities are super strong. And next, we're going to go to the house of Korres. It's Kima. You guys familiar with Korres? I first discovered Korres in the early 2000s. They had skincare and body care items. They kind of disappeared, and then latter part of the 2010s, I discovered them for their fragrances. Black Sugar was one of the fragrances I first discovered. Now I have a pretty extensive collection I bought. They do sales. They usually do, their sales can go to 25 to 30, maybe 35. I think the most is 40% off. It's a good deal. But a lot of these fragrances are ending up at discounters as well. So there is that too. But Kima is very citrusy, marine, spicy, and woody. It might act a bit simplistic, but if you like the idea of citruses with marine aquatic notes, spices, and woods, it should satisfy, especially if you get this on a deal. I think their fragrances used to be like 50 or 45. I can't remember, a while ago when I was first recommending them. And then they would do a 40% off and you'd get the fragrance for like 30 something, or maybe they were $65, something like that. So if you get this on a deal, especially if it's 40% off, I think it's totally worth it. I think it's a 50 ml bottle though. And again, if you do the math, if you do like 100 ml is your base, then if it's $60, it's $120 for 100 ml. So still pretty inexpensive. But I think these prices have gone up a little bit. So don't quote me on the price, but they're somewhere around there. So still making, pretty good prices for fragrances. And this is a really nice, fresh, spicy, woody take on marine. Totally wearable too. So that is Kima from the house of Korres. Here's another fragrance that really got me to enjoy marine fragrances. And this is from the house of L'Artisan. This is Honneur de Bretagne, the air of Brittany. So what I like about this one is it's uber lemony. And this one, I believe, has a cologne note. But the lemons really cross out the overly sulfuric or fishiness of the marine notes they have in here. So it's fresh and lemony, really wonderful with the citruses. And behind it, there is a sea breeze coming, hitting the trees. Maybe you're slicing some lemons and you're making lemon juice. You're getting whiffs and you're along the coast or something. This is a really, really great fragrance from the house. lovely the way it's created. Nice amount of tart lemons with a little bit of sweetness. There's some, you know, aromatics in here, and there's some light woods under there. So it's not a super intense fragrance, but the combo of the lemons is just magic in this. The combo of the lemons with the marine notes is just perfection. They did it so well. I know this is a popular one for this house and this collection. And this is a collection that's inspired by different regions of France. This is Brittany, which I've been to. I've never seen lemon trees there. Or maybe that's not the inspiration. I don't know if that's the inspiration, but there's lemons in this fragrance. The next fragrance going to the house of Les Parfums de Rosine. It's Blue Abyss. This might be a bit challenging. I did have challenging time with this one when I first tried it. Are you guys familiar with this house? This is also minerally. No, I think it has either algae or seaweed. It's acting quite soapy. I wonder if there's some aromatics in here. So I was a bit put off by this, but I think it's tolerable now. Why am I getting rose? I think there's rose in here because the brand is called Rosine. And of course, they highlight the rose. That's why I'm getting rose. Wow, it's quite rosy. Rose and marine notes and algae, seaweed notes, mineral notes. So that's Les Parfums de Rosine Blue Abyss. Are you guys familiar with this? I'm actually liking that now as a smell. It's not so super nauseating that I thought at first. And I don't know what's going on with the brand. I need to double check because the woman behind the brand who I met several times, she actually came to San Francisco once. She passed away several years ago. But in 2019, I was visiting Paris around May Day. I actually shot a video of her talking about this collection, which there's 4 fragrances. I've never aired that video, and it's kind of interesting that I have it because we were going to do a video on it. Maybe I should air that video. But that's actually quite good. The rose against the marine notes is working really wonderfully. So that's Les Parfums de Rosine Blue Abyss. Then we're going to the house of Lorenzo Pezzaglia. We've got 2 fragrances, Black Sea and Sexy. Is that meant to be sexy or sexy? Well, it's sexy, but sounds like it's sexy. All right, Black Sea, challenging, for sure challenging. At least when I shot my original video about this fragrance, it was challenging. Ooh, this is also very Megamare-like, that amber woods. Whoa. It filled the cloud of that amber woods, which is definitely in Megamare. And it disappeared for a bit, and it's come back. It's so strong. But see, when I first smelled that, it was quite challenging. I think my nose has discovered the amber woods. There's a kind of amber woods that's in here and also in Megamare that I think my nose was not smelling. I mean, your nose adjusts along the way. And that's why I think Megamare, when I first smelled it, it was like a complete turnoff. I can tolerate it a little bit now because my nose can pick out that amber woods base. So it crosses out the overly fishiness. But still, sometimes I can pick it up. And this is actually now, Black Sea is getting extremely marine. Like Megamare. It's a no for me. This one's definitely a no. Black Sea. Then we've got Sexy. Who's a fan of Lorenzo Pezzaglia's fragrances? Do let me know. Add a comment below. This one's a bit more enjoyable. it's not as overly marine. I am getting some, not even getting that overly amber woods experience that I got with Black Sea. What I got was coffee when it was first sprayed, but I think it's just my nose is playing tricks on me. This is not much marine, but it's there. It's light. Giving you a little bit of an island experience, kind of tropical, maybe a bit beachy. Light fruits in there. Maybe not light fruits, I think intense fruits. I enjoy that one more than Black Sea, but not my favorite, honestly. My favorite from this house is Carbonara. It's a great amber fragrance, but doesn't smell like carbonara, at least not the spaghetti, because I really love spaghetti carbonara. But Sexy, it's wearable for sure. There's a warmth about that one. Now next, going to the house of Maison Margiela, it's Sailing Day. This is another fragrance that was a bit challenging for me. I've totally gotten used to it. I hope this is still selling. It's not discontinued. This is oceanic, sea breezy, aromatic, fresh, citrusy, and also minerally, I think. The visuals for this is a sailboat with the blue sea, obviously. And they are, well, this says fragrance description, aquatic deep sea. I think they should have said marine deep sea, but it's watery, I guess. And it's Paros 2001. Yeah, that's the visual. It's very blue. It's very marine, but not overly marine that you can't wear it. I can wear that one. There's some citruses in there as well. I'm getting some tartness. I don't think they're strong, though. All right, so next, it's Memo Paris Ocean Leather. This, originally I thought was ambergris, but there might be some ambergris. But I wouldn't say this is chock full of ambergris. It's very fresh, but just keep in mind, all the leather fragrances from Memo dry down to a leather. And at first, when I heard about this, I was like, oceanic or marine fragrances that dry down to leather doesn't sound like I would like. But I really, really like this one. It's not super fishy. Does get a bit animalic with the leather, but I think it's totally tolerable. I don't think any of their fragrances are super animalic, except for the latest leather, which is an extract in the 30 ml just called Leather. That one is a bit animalic, but it's like, it depends on how much you can tolerate animalics and things like that. For me, they're not that animalic, but I think some people think leathers can be animalic. Here, it's a really nice take on a leather fragrance. And again, at first I thought this was not going to work. It works really well. It's very fresh, but eventually becoming a leather in the dry down. That's why it's called Ocean Leather. Yeah, that's really wonderful. That's Ocean Leather from the House of Memo Paris. All right, next up, we're going to the house of Miller Harris. It's Hydra Fig. And once again, we've got a marine take on figs. Who's a fan of Miller Harris? So I'm thinking of, so we've had the Grove by the Sea, which was figs and also olives. We had Fig Man, which is of course marine notes with figs, was creamy and salty. And then now we've got Hydra Fig. This to me seems like somewhere between a Grove by the Sea and Fig Man. The figs are a bit more prominent in compared to Fig Man. And also the marine notes are not as strong as A Grove by the Sea, and Fig Man. But they're there. They're noticeable. But super bitter, very creamy. Whether it's the fig milk experience or the woods that are in here, it's super, super smooth. No fruits whatsoever. I'm not experiencing fruits here. It's more of the greenness, green woods. But really wonderful take on a fig fragrance that's leaning marine. I've recently discovered this house and I'm enjoying their fragrances. Also discovered Perfumer H, which is, I think, Harris. It's Lynn Harris from this brand, who started her own brand, I think. I'm enjoying some of the fragrances from that house as well. And that house, I think, is now selling at Bergdorf's. But I think Miller Harris does have some great fragrances. And some of the fragrances from this house are created by Matthew Nardan. I looked him up and he's got a lot of fragrances for the house. I can't remember if he created this. Let me know if you guys know. But let me know also if you know Hydra Fig from Miller Harris. Add a comment below. And what do you enjoy from the brand of Miller Harris? Let's move on to the third and final page of marine fragrances. This is M. Micallef's Osato. So the reason I paused the video earlier and went to look at Mirto de Panarea was this fragrance is a marine take on myrtle flower, which Mirto de Panarea is about the myrtle flower. But Mirto de Panarea does not go marine. This one does. Whoops. This is another fragrance that I was a bit challenged by. But I don't know if you guys have ever used, if you're used to the myrtle plant and the berries and the flowers and the distinct smell it has. It's kind of aromatic, it doesn't really smell that floral to me. Not like a gardenia or a jasmine or a tuberose, nothing like that. It smells more like an herb or spice to me. Which here, it's really nicely meshed with the sea touches. I've eaten plenty of the berries off of myrtle plants. It's an acquired taste, by the way. Not recently, but I've had plenty of it. It's an interesting fruit. It's got a distinct spicy flavor. And I always associate smell and taste together. So it's reminding me of when I eat that stuff or when I have eaten that stuff. But the flowers do have a very similar smell. If you ever see the flower, smell it and see if you can either, picture it in Osato or Mirto de Panarea. And of course, nowadays we have phones that will tell us what the flower is. So it's kind of a bushy flower. It's kind of a bushy plant with tiny little whitish light yellow flowers. And it's got these little pistils. It's a very interesting flower. The ingredient is not, the note is not used a lot in fragrances, but whenever I see it, I really enjoy it. So that is Osato from the house of Micallef, which is a marine fragrance with myrtle plant. I actually really like this bottle as well. The only thing I don't like about this brand's fragrances is the sprayers are kind of bad. But they might have changed lately, I'm not sure. Okay, we've got two fragrances from one house, but they're also different concentrations of the same fragrance. And I also have two different bottles. Obviously, they used to have bottles like this, and now they have bottles like this. This is the eau de toilette of the older bottle. This is the eau de parfum of the new bottle. And I'm talking about Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel. And I always mention this. I think the idea of Molton Brown's Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel might be kind of ripped off of Wood Sage and Sea Salt. Maybe not. It kind of reminds me of that. They don't smell alike, but Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel, Wood Sage and Sea Salt kind of gives me the similar idea. They're smelling different. The cypress on both of these, the cypress in this fragrance in both concentrations is super prominent and a bit menthol as well. But the marine notes is more like a sea breeze. It's quite fresh, very invigorating because the greenness and the camphor touches of the cypress Adds that kind of invigorating layer. Great fragrance. I think this is really, people seem to like it. It's crowd pleasing qualities also. It smells really, really pleasant on skin. It's not overwhelming, but really great fragrance with that kind of greenness and the herbal aromatic touches of the cypress. And of course, you've got that sea fennel in there as well. So there's a lot of aromatic touches against the marine notes. Why are my strips different all of a sudden here? So let's try the EDP. So the EDP is not as fresh as the EDT, obviously. It's deeper and woodier and not so... It's not as green as the EDT. The EDT's freshness gives me more of an experience with the aromatics, and I'm calling the cypress an aromatic because it acts very aromatic. There's this distinct green kind of herbal woody smell. And then, of course, you've got that sea fennel note in here as well. But with the EDP, it's just lots of woods. It's more overdosed with woods. Less marine as well in the EDP. Okay, coastal cypress and sea fennel. Just to let you know, these bottles do not come like this anymore. You'll find a clear bottle like this of coastal cypress and sea fennel if you're looking for the EDT. But let's move on to the house of new notes. It's Queen of the Sea. Who's a fan of new notes? This is a floral take on marine. And lightly fruity as well. Yeah, I feel like there's berries in here. It's kind of acting juicy and fresh. It's pretty. There's a prettiness about it. So I think this one does lean a bit feminine with the kind of notes there are. And the marine touches are not super strong either. They're there, but I wouldn't say this is a marine bomb. But the fruitiness is giving it like a cozy feel, a fun and playful feel. I wouldn't say it's uber feminine, but I think it's more unisex, but it's pretty. That makes sense. So Queen of the Sea from the house of New Notes. Then we've got a fragrance from the house of Noya. It's Ocean's Luminance. You guys familiar with this house? Ocean's Luminance. To me, it's not super marine. It's fresh, very, very fresh, very breezy, very citrusy. And I think there's aromatics in here as well. I feel like I'm getting some green herbal touches. So it's called Ocean's Luminance, but maybe we're looking at the ocean next to all these aromatics and herbs. So if you're challenged with, this is actually quite pleasant. I mean, it's so super fresh and breezy, but there's a depth under there and also creaminess under there as well. Something smooth. And I know they have some citruses in here as well, for sure, because I'm getting some tartness, sweet tart qualities of the citruses. But very pleasant. Ocean's Luminance by Noya. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. Okay, here's another fig fragrance that's gone marine. This time we're going to the house of obvious parfums. This is Unfig. Unfig. Who's a fan of this house, Obvious? So when they first came on the scene, I felt their fragrances were a bit more simplistic, where you could actually layer between some fragrances. But later on, their fragrances got more complex, and I feel like they're not as easy to layer anymore. But this is super green. The figs are so prominent, and it's nicely balanced with whatever marine notes they have in here, reminding you of the sea. But there's to me also, the figs reminds me a little bit of the fig in Murmure d'Eté from the house of, what's the house? Plume Impression, which it's in our current kit. If you haven't, if you love fig fragrances and you haven't tried the latest kit, we've got a really great kit now. We've got 3 awesome fragrances, which includes Murmure d'Eté. The fig in this is reminding me of that. But Murmure d'Eté by Plume Impression doesn't go marine, whereas this one does have the marine qualities for sure. But really loving the bitterness of the fig leaves or the fig tree note. Big lover of the smell of figs, by the way. I don't know if it's because I'm Mediterranean and I kind of grew up with figs, but that's kind of why I enjoy certain smells, because I remember them growing up, kind of a thing. But who's a fan of figs? Lately, I did also a Fig Fragrances for Life video. If you haven't caught that, please go catch that. But let's move on to 3 Spanish brands back to back. Go figure. And 2 of them are with the first name Ramon. So this is the first one, Ramon Bejar. It's Mar Eterna. So Ramon Bejar, Mar Eterna, I don't think goes very marine. I'm highlighting it here because it's got the word mar, it's the sea. This is a more ozonic fresh, very crisp and juicy. I think there's it's got more of like a niche blue style fragrance vibe, but not overdosed with, I don't get like aroma chemicals type notes. Like I don't get a lot of ambroxan. It's just very juicy notes. Very juicy, it's very, very fresh. And it's also quite intense because I believe this is an extrait de parfum. Actually, it's not. But when you spray this thing, this is eau de parfum. When you spray it, it's so beefy, like it's quite intense. And I'm featuring it here because it's called Mar Eterna, but I guess maybe you might be tricked into smell it, like reminding you of the smell of the sea, but to me it doesn't act very sea. It's more like ozonic. It's very fresh though. Anyway, that is Ramon Bejar Mar Eterna. So this is the first of 3 Spanish brands, back to back. Next, we do have Ramon Monegal. It's Ibiza Sunset Cafe. Now remember, we had 1 fragrance for Contest de Parfums created by Ramon Monegal. Why is there... Anyway. And then this is Ibiza. So 2 fragrances created by Ramon Monegal. Who's a fan of Ramon Monegal's fragrances? Remember I mentioned the Mon Patchouli. I had such a negative reaction to that fragrance. This is kind of a gourmand marine fragrance, which is kind of a cool idea. This is almost like sitting at the beach drinking a latte or a cappuccino. This smells so fun. I've never been to Ibiza. Would love to go one day, but I think it's over tourist, like over visited. Maybe go off season. But I really, really love the idea of this one and the way it smells. The marine notes are not super strong. You really pick up the coffee. It acts really fun. It's a strange combination, but it really works. And just like I'm putting myself in the setting of having a really nice... Is it a warm day? Then I'm having an iced coffee, I guess. So good. This is really good. Let me know if you're familiar with this. Sunset Cafe Ibiza. Gorgeous bottle too. And then the third Spanish brand is Rosendo Matu's 1988. Who's a fan of this one? I think this is inspired by Rosendo Matu's time in New York City, from what I remember reading. This has got that marine touch, but it doesn't smell like the beach. It's almost like sea air in the air, kind of like the sea smell in the air. I think this is also a bit floral. There's an interesting metallic quality here, which I don't think I've gotten from a marine fragrance before. I wonder what's causing that. This isn't my favorite fragrance from the house. I think it's pleasant, but it's not a wow for me. Maybe you guys like it. Let me know. Okay, next. We're not doing Spanish brands anymore. I don't think I have any more Spanish brands. This is an Italian brand, Royal Crown Eternum. Who's a fan of Royal Crown? So I actually shot a excuse me. I actually shot a video with its two sisters, and their father is a perfumer. And then I met the main sister that I was in contact with for a while, and their mother in their store. They used to have a store in Rome, and I shot a video there. So if you are into the brand, go check out that video if you haven't seen it. This one to me acts minerally marine. And this one actually, I was a bit cautious with for a while, but it has grown on me, and I like its mineral qualities. It's very fresh. It's got the blue thing going for it. It's not super fishy, but it used to be at one point. I remember this one challenging my nose. But right now it smells quite unique in that it's very fresh, minerally marine, aromatic and spicy, and some woods, maybe some musk. I think this one also might have ambergris in it. I'm gonna put some on skin. Yeah, it smells really pleasant. It's very fresh and also pretty intense here. But I'm picking up, some, the marine notes are not strong in this one, even on skin, but very minerally. Oh, why am I getting incense? Interesting. Eternum. Let me know if you're familiar with Eternum from the house of Royal Crown. Okay, next we've got two fragrances from the house of Sarah Baker, first of which is Atlant. This one is a bit challenging to me. I think it's the ambergris they're using in this one. Ambergris, if overdosed, is so not enjoyable. This is acting very salty and ambergris for sure. It's developing. So ambergris to me, again, as I said, it can be very challenging if it's overused. This one develops, ambergris is regurgitation from the whale. So whatever was in its stomach is out. So it's going to smell poopy a little bit. But for some reason, ambergris also has the effect of smelling very screechy metallic. I don't know what causes that. I've smelled some fragrances that have a lot of ambergris. It's just so sharp to my nose. I can't even get close to it. Like one of the fragrances from the house of Strangelove called Silence the Sea. Oh man, the ambergris in that is so strong. This is not that strong. This is actually pleasant. But if they pushed the ambergris a little bit more, it would have been just nauseating. But I think there is a little bit of a poopiness in this one. But there's enough of other things going on with it that it's tolerable. But still, I have a challenging time with Atlante from Sarah Baker. But the next fragrance from Sarah Baker is called Greek Keys. This, on the other hand, not as challenging, but still a little challenging. But since day one, I've gotten quite used to this. It's not as challenging as before. This is more about the sea with the marine touches, but also some green aromatics. This is like just jumping in the water and smelling what's around you. Maybe there's some trees near there. But it's got the salty vibes. I mean, this is, if you want a mass market fragrance that might be similar to this, the idea might be like Cool Water, but this is not acting like Cool Water. This is actually like, whereas Cool Water smells so synthetic, here it's very naturalistic smelling. It's the sea, pretty much, with some herbs or aromatics thrown in. And of course, you know, the marine notes. There might be some citruses here and things like that. Still a bit challenging for me, unfortunately. But you guys might like it. Greek Keys, let me know if you've sampled that. We're going to the house of State of Mind next. This is Open Mind. Who's a fan of Open Mind by State of Mind? Who's a fan of State of Mind fragrances? These fragrances are tea-inspired. They come in a tea canister. The tea canisters remind me of the tea canisters from Mariage Frères. This is very smooth and a bit fruity, kind of a sea breeze. But under there's something bitter, almost smoky. Smoky and green, a bit peppery, and woody for sure. But wait, the smokiness is kind of developing into something leathery. Whoa. But there was a fruitiness up top. That is State of Mind's Open Mind. Who's a fan of this house? I think this is created by Corinne de Breuil-Sereni, if I'm not mistaken. But the next fragrance going to the house of Swiss Arabian. This is Soul of Bali. I've never been to Bali. I've heard great things about it. This is mostly a warm, spicy amber fragrance, but it is mixed with marine notes. And the marine notes are not coming through right. Well, no, they are. On skin, they don't come through as fast. To me, since it is a warm, spicy, ambery fragrance, that dominates, and then the marine notes, develop. But on the strip, it's actually not right away, but almost right away that the marine notes came. So this is a bit unusual in that it's not a conventional marine fragrance that's with all these fresh marine notes. This is much more substantial. It's much more warmer. It's hotter and spicier and amberier. But since Bali is on the water, right? So we've got marine notes thrown in. This is also an extrait of Parfum, so it's super concentrated. So that is Soul of Bali from the House of Swiss Arabian. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Next, we're going to the house of a challenging fragrance from the House of Tom Ford. This is Oud Mineral. Once again, I have gotten used to this. Not my all-time favorite fragrance. This at one time was so challenging for me. Extremely challenging. So this is minerally. It's also very marine with the oud. But honestly, guys, this version is not as good as... I had a friend that gave me half a decanter bottle of Oud Mineral in the previous concentration. For some reason, this version is extremely smoky in comparison to the other. And I actually prefer the other. And somebody had mentioned that the other version was carcinogenic. I don't know how true that is. That's why they reformulated this. Do you guys get the differences between this version of Oud Mineral and the previous? Again, the previous version, I didn't care for it when it first launched. But later on, I kind of started liking it, but they discontinued it and brought this. Now, I don't really like this one, unfortunately. Do you guys like it? Let me know. Oud Mineral from the house of Tom Ford. Then we're going to the house of Unique Luxury. This is Ocean the Reeve. Let me know if you're a fan of Ocean the Reeve. Let me know if you're a fan of Unique Luxury. These are super strong Extrait de Parfum fragrances, by the way. Wow, it is so thick. This one actually, it's got a kind of a sticky caramelly quality about it with a marine touch. I'm not sure if there's caramel or gourmand notes in this, but it didn't really come through with, or shine through with the marine notes. But later, the marine notes are really, really developing, crossing out whatever intensity there was. Wow. Let me know if you guys are a fan of this. It's a fairly new fragrance from the house. Wow, this is very marine. If it's acting very marine on the strip, and I've tested it on skin, it's also even more potent on skin. This one's quite challenging. Yeah, I mean, some fragrances are still going to challenge me. Not everything is going to smell pleasant, but I was a lot more challenged before than I am now. Next, going to the house of Veronique Gabay. This is Jasmine de Minuit. And here's that jasmine and marine notes combo again. But this is a really lovely fragrance. It's not overly fishy, but you experience the marine notes. It is the sea after all. It smells very, very fresh. It's very floral, maybe slightly indolic. It's the jasmine after all. And there's a creaminess about the jasmine. And there's a juiciness in here as well. I would say the previous fragrance maybe was a bit more daring because it's the marine, but I don't think marine fragrances are daring. They're just somewhat challenging to me. This is a lot prettier, the Veronique Gabay. It's, I think, also does lean feminine for sure. It kind of smells like a mass market fragrance. Jasmine de Minuit from Veronique Gabay. Next we got, oh, you know what I forgot? I completely forgot Orto Parisi's Megamare, which is way up over Rosendo Matu and Ramon Monegal. Let's go ahead and try Megamare. I know I'm challenged with this. I know we are off the list. Actually, I've forgotten two fragrances. Bummer. I wrote down notes after I printed out my paper. I wrote down Orto Parisi, and then I wrote down another one on this one. So I'm going to have to go back to that as well until then we can continue. But Megamare, whoa. It's a super beastly fragrance. A lot of people say it lasts a long time. I think it's the amber woods that's in here. But on skin, for me, this is very challenging. It does get very fishy on skin. And also, when it's warmer, it's even stronger. And it's pretty cool in this studio. I've had the air conditioner on. It's usually around 65 degrees in here. So it's not smelling so strong. But this gets challenging for me. But I know there's a lot of fans of this. Are you a fan of Orto Parisi's Megamare? Let me know. Do add a comment below. Let's talk about also Domenica from Gleam. I'm sorry that these are not in alphabetical order. This Gleam Domenica is a very interesting fragrance and an interesting marine fragrance in that This also acts chlorine kind of swimming pool slash sea water combo. It's very fresh, but there's a medicinal vibe about it. And I think it's because I'm getting that chlorine effect happening quite a bit. Maybe there's some herbs under there or something in here creating this kind of an effect. But to me, it acts more like a swimming pool rather than the sea because it's a bit bitter. Who's a fan of this? Domenica from Gleam. Who's a fan of Gleam, by the way? Okay, we've got 3 fragrances left. The next fragrance is from the house of Violet or Maison Violet. It's Rivage. Are you a fan of Rivage? Are you guys fans of Maison Violet? The other day in my nutmeg video, I was forgetting the name. Un Air d'Apogée, which is a great tobacco fragrance, which we featured in a Scent Club kit, number 2 Scent Club kit. So I'm telling you guys what it is, but one of you commented and told me. And also the other bottle design was a bit wobbly, I was talking about. But these bottles have now become easier to, stand still on a tabletop and things like that. But this is called Rivage. And it's a really nice, pleasant take on a marine fragrance. Very fresh. Citrusy, aromatic for sure, but not overly fishy. It's created by Nathalie Lorson. And again, early on, I would have been challenged with this, but thankfully it's not overly fishy. I think there's some woods in here as well, which is toning down the marine touches. But it's marine. I think if you're new to it and you haven't started appreciating it and you're challenged by marine, this might be a bit too marine for you. But to me, it's smelling pleasant. It smells really, really invigorating, really, really fresh, really fresh. Just like you're being hit in the face with a breeze and you've got a really nice smell of the sea hitting your nose along with other smells. Nathalie Lorson does some great fragrances, and I think these guys from Violet, I've been working with her quite a bit. So this is Rivage from the house of Maison Violet or Violet. And then we've got 2 fragrances from the house of Zoologist Perfumes. We've got Seahorse first. This is a challenging fragrance, and even though I'm a big fan of Julian Rasconnais, I was quite challenged with this. I had a difficult time with this. I didn't get it. It's been a while since I've smelled it, though. It's not as bad as I remember. I much prefer the next fragrance, which actually when Julian Rasconnais created Squid, he was at IFF, and the next fragrance is also created by a perfumer from IFF. But for some reason, this one was extremely fishy for me when I first smelled it. And like I said, I was really challenged by it, but I'm not challenged with it now. It smells kind of cucumbery, sea, and it's a bit more ozonic rather than marine as I'm smelling it now. The Eternum on my skin smells really wonderful, by the way. But now that I've smelled the Eternum on the skin, going back to this, there is a cucumbery, jelly-like smell about this. Who's a fan of Seahorse? It's quite green. I mean, it's smelling green, not the bottle is. I'm not talking about the bottle. That is Seahorse. And the last fragrance is Squid. This is created by Celine Burrell. So I didn't have a challenging time with this, and I was surprised because when I smelled this, I really enjoyed it. And I was surprising myself. I was saying, why am I enjoying this fragrance? What's the deal? It's a salty, inky fragrance. The combination of the ink and the salt together and the marine notes works wonderfully here. And I love calamari. I actually really love this. I actually really like the fragrances of Celine Burrell. Maybe a lot of them, not everything. I don't think. I don't remember everything that she's created, but she's done a great job here. The way the fragrance works, the inkiness, the saltiness, and the marine notes together makes for a great combo. And you know, there's a lot of marine notes in this. It's salty as well, quite salty. But there's a lot of marine notes in this, and even on my skin, it doesn't overwhelm. Great work. Definitely a top 10 from Zoologist. Maybe even a top 7. Let me know if you're a fan of squid. It is a bit smoky too, by the way. It's like there's incense in there. Anyway, let me know if you're familiar with squid. And if you like it or you don't, add a comment below. I really like squid. And that's the end of the video. That's the last fragrance I'm talking about. Sorry for the 2 fragrances out of order. I apologize. But it's marine fragrances deep dive for you. Let me know which one sounds the best to you. Let me know if there's something missing that you thought I would have here and I don't. Sometimes putting these lists together, guys, takes a long time, and I do forget once in a while. So I apologize if I've forgotten anything, but it's either I forgot it or I don't own it. Most of the time I don't own it, but there might be 1 or 2 fragrances that I probably have spoken about before that I did not feature here, but doing the research and putting together the lists do take time, and sometimes I skip over things and I completely forget about them. Now, there are some mass market offerings that might have been on this list I did not feature. I decided not to feature just because I did not want to feature them. Like Cool Water is not here, and some similar fragrances are not here, but do add a comment below and let me know which fragrances I've missed. Which are your favorites? Do you like any of the ones today that I discussed in the video? What are you doing for the Labor Day weekend? Happy Labor Day weekend, by the way. It's on Monday. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys. Thanks so much for watching today. And as I said at the beginning of the video, if you haven't gotten the email yet, you will get it soon. There is a new mystery box that's dropping. It's a really big one, a really awesome one. You're going to want to find out about it as soon as it drops, or if it hasn't dropped yet. Anyway, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, and click the bell icon so that you'll be notified for future videos. And also, please give a thumbs up for this video, and I'll see you guys soon.